Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the stream. Now, today, got a little bit of a reset going. I reset the challenge accounts. Now we have the original balance back set. We've got opening bell in about 1:10. So I'm just going to take a minute and kind of review kind of simply what the idea is behind the strategy that I've got worked up. If you've checked out the strategy video, I'll clear this out real quick. Why is it not cooperating? Out of the way. Okay. So, to kind of go back forward, where was I? I'll go ahead and start from the top of kind of what I posted. I did kind of leave a little bit of a community post. But kind of basically all we're doing is we're just looking at price and sort of a vertical outlook. So when we're looking at price, we're only looking at what's kind of going on inside this box as far as what we're going to do with our trade decision. So this way we can pick up on trend changes, angle changes, level changes, so on and so forth. We're only looking at an up-down type portion. And there's our opening bell, so we should see some things get going here real soon. But now, for example, right now at this instance, I'm kind of looking at just a primary level. So now I'm going to watch and see what happens from this little zone here. If I start to see a reaction down, I'm going to go short. And if I see a reaction long, then of course I'm going long. Now to set up my risk, I'm going to go with the 40-point maximum loss, which with 10 ticks per point in the M2K, that'll be 4 points for our stop. And I'm not going to even bother with a target because I'm going to be using the trail method. I have the chart set up to be a tick chart. This is 100 ticks. So basically each candle represents 100 lots. There we go, and it looks like we might be going long. But I'm going to wait just a minute to go to confirm. It might even just be, looks like that might have been a little bit of a fake out. Got a few different moving averages, a 9, a 20, and a 50, just kind of looking at a few different things. There we go.
Order filled.
So we're either going to accept that stop loss where it is, or we're going to make it smaller. So for the maximum risk on this trade, I'm looking at about 42.84 with the commissions. That's if I were to use 2 contracts. I forgot to change that, but we'll get that for the next trade. Get that set up so it's ready to go. And basically we're just going to try to catch as much of this move as possible. Whenever it's in one of these little levels, you just want to kind of wait and see what's happening. Now we've got another little zone right here from yesterday. But I might at least try to consider waiting till around about here for this one. And then we'll work that trailing stop up. So now we're already starting to get some immediate action. I'm going to bring this up close just to reduce the risk. So now we got about $5. Each line is going to represent $5 or 1 point, and that's at 1 contract. So if we're doing 10, that would be $10 per line, which is about where we have figured for our risk. So for that trade, I only had $20 of risk maximum. So it would have been 21. Would have been 21.42. So now we're starting to get a strong reaction. I'm going to take that opposite color candle. If it decides it wants to come back on us, then we've at least made a small gain to begin with. I think it's going to continue, but we'll see if it gets a retrace off of this area here now. So we'll look at something kind of like this, and we'll wait in this little area here to see if we're going to get some sort of reaction now. So we're just going to let price come back to this little area here. If I can get my pen to cooperate. And doesn't want to cooperate with me right now. But basically, I'm going to try to look at this level here. We could also see a potential break upwards, in which case it might not be a bad idea to go long again, and then I would cover this low if I go long from this point. But I'm going to wait and see if we get a breakout. But I think we're going to kind of break down a little bit. You notice we've got a little bit of an area here where things kind of got jarbled up a little bit. So that's what I mean by looking at price and sort of a horizontal level. So yeah, we can say that we have a trend line, of course. It's pretty common to go with the trend line idea and then see if we get a break, then of course we might go short. But because we've got this level here, this break would actually be fake. It would touch this level and come up. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen here. We've got a little bit of a double top forming. So we'll let it run and see what it's going to do for us. I kind of took away some of the merit for the trend line because at the end of the day, if we're looking at things in an up-down perspective, you can see how price can move up several points, come back several points, move up several points, come back several points, move up several points, come back several points. All in all, this angle does not change or go up at a very steep rate. So this would represent your gradual gain over time. This is all the potential that's coming out of it that's ahead of what your expectation is. Now, this is all good and well as long as it's continuing above that line and you're using a stop, but a trailing stop. But if you're trailing that, it doesn't look to be a very strong break. So we've got a little bit of a noisy mess going on right here right now. Don't see anything real clear or strong, so I'm going to wait. But don't forget, we're just looking for about this level here. So I'll remove the trend line. We can visually remember where that is. You can kind of see it if you just look at the bottom area here. You can also see sort of a channel kind of forming. Now, if you're going by price action alone, to me, this is also kind of signifying a slowdown. We've got several lots traded right here, but the price is not moving up or down. So we've got a little bit of a stall right here. Not really getting that explosive move out of the start. But I almost think if we don't go down and we come up, we could see a rejection down off of that area. Still kind of climbing. It's a little bit of a push there.
Order filled.
And now in this example, we had the $40 maximum risk, but because we're just reducing that size, we are actually taking less than that $42 of risk. And I'm going to allow a maximum loss of the day for 300. That's going to be about 15% of my maximum loss at 2,000 for the maximum loss. I'm allowed to lose 1,000 max for the day, but I'm not going to push it straight to the max loss because that would only mean I get 2 days to trade, whereas if I'm setting my max loss a bit lower, even if I do completely terrible, I'll at least survive for a couple of weeks. And that's kind of the whole idea behind the risk management strategy and risk structure for the strategy. So you're always trying to look to reduce. I'll take that down to about $15 of risk now. But you're always looking to reduce that risk. And if it looks like potential stall out or things are not going to work in your favor, it's best to just get out as soon as you get that feeling. And then you're just going to revert back to step one, where you're just going to wait to see what kind of a signal you can get. So we have a little bit of another level going right here is what I'm kind of looking at. We had a break above that high, so that's why I went ahead and jumped in. Now let it play out. I'm covering just below the break candle. It may not work out for us though.
Stop filled.
So we'll watch and see if we get this breakdown, and then I'm going to keep an eye on this level here. because I think that level is more likely going to be the workout case. The main reason being is because we were below this area and then we had a lot of activity happening right here. Could also see this potentially being a level here. But it's breaking down, so I'm going to wait and see if we get a reaction off of this level. That would be a safer trade than just trying to take the breakout, because now you can see we're starting to get a little bit of an attempt to break. Trend lines aren't exactly going to be a perfect example. We don't really have a whole lot of level structure here, so I wouldn't think it would be safe to anticipate this as being a long entry. We'll see what kind of ticks get generated around this little spot here. In a way, this tick chart does give me a volume readout. It's not exactly a trade volume readout, it's more of a tick volume style readout. So if you see several ticks, like 3 or 4 or 5 of these candles suddenly appear, that would indicate that it was a huge order. If price were to move a lot but no new candles appear, that could indicate a lack of orders in the market, so there may not be anyone available to take purchase price at a certain level. So what price will do is it'll jump across that level to find the next one. So when you see these large candles but no new candles form, that could be an indication of what's happening. But if you see smaller candles and then many appear at once, that usually will indicate a large order just jumped into the market, or a large order just came out of the market. But either way, it's going to influence price to move as a result of that. So we're starting to get a little bit of a slowdown here, watching this little zone in this area here, right around that area. So we're all watching together. Currently right now just down a fuzz. Would have came out much better had I had the right contract size on the first trade. Instead of making the 15, would have made 30. So it's something to remember. With Ninja Trader, it's going to default to your basics. And then each time you start a new session, you may have to change a few things. It's always going to start with no advanced trade management strategy, and it will always usually start at 1 for the order quantity. So those are things to keep in mind. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a stall out flag out here. Most people will go ahead and buy, anticipating the uptrend. I'm going to watch though, because if we don't get that reaction up, we could see a fallback and come down to the lower levels. Now just watching, starting to get that reaction. So I'm going to go ahead and hop in, cover the bottom. Again, using less than the maximum determined risk. If we were to break that low, then we could see the dive to the bottom. Right now I'm kind of staying forward with this plan, where we're going to look to go up to this next level as our target. Move that to get a view. Not sure if we're going to go ahead and explode up or not from here. But either way, looking at about 2250 or so of risk. About 25. A little bit wider than 2 lines. So about $23. I'm not quite going to get that reaction, I don't think. A little bit sluggish to come out. Stop is a little snug, but we don't want to give it a little bit of room and then have it plummet out on us. I'd rather take a small loss over a bigger one just for a hope and a prayer. That in turn will actually lead to more money you have to get back in the end. I can't say as I completely trust this one. Let it go though. If we do plummet down, I will immediately take short. Still kind of looking towards that original plan. A stop out does not necessarily trigger an entry short. It just means that it was not the correct trade for that point in time. We'll just have to observe. Especially because we have to keep in mind this is a fairly wide little zone here.
Stop filled.
Okay, so we did get filled. Wait and see if we're going to react any more from this level again. We don't want to just immediately jump in, and we do have a little bit of an upward market structure, so we could still pull back a little bit more and then end up going long. So basically I'm going to look for a break of this high or some type of ejection off of this level here to go long. Notice how that failed there off of the trend line to go short. We're already still kind of lining up with the plan. Then we had the steep push. Now we're kind of stalled again. So we can tell that just from the candles. We've had several lots come through at 100 ticks. Should represent close to one lot or 100 contracts. Roughly, give or take. It's not going to be an exact science, but it is going to give you a close representation of what's happening. Another thing to keep in mind is when price is moving, that means somebody put some money in or somebody took some money out from the other side to make it move. So if price is not moving, no orders are being traded. No contracts are being traded. So it's always something to remember. It does look like we're getting a bit of a breakdown
Order
pattern.
filled.
So let's go ahead and try the short. I'll cover all of the black. I'll actually cover that opposite green. I'll leave it right there. Just leave it right there. See if we get some follow through this time. Showing a lot of wicks on the top of the candles to indicate that price is being pushed down on each tick set. We kind of look down here to the bottom. This little zone, this little area here for target. La, 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 la. Now, trading in this method doesn't so much require a 50-50 hit rate. This part right here is more of a 1-to-1 for the judgment if you were following along for the second part. At this point now, I'm just kind of using this part of the calculator and this part to kind of see the values of everything. So still not working out in our favor.
Order filled.
Take that off, and now we're getting the very strong pushback
Order
up.
filled.
So we'll flip that back to long. And we'll cover the very bottom and see if we get our topside target. Kind of in the middle of a wide range at the moment. Because notice that was the bottom of yesterday's session. Got to make sure I go through a checklist to check and make sure everything is set up and start. Not having the right contract size put us at a little bit of a disadvantage at this point. Because unfortunately it was a winner that did not get its full potential. Also stopped out a little bit early on it. Maybe we'll get a good opportunity to show step 6B where you trail up and keep everything close just because of a major extension. But mostly as we go up, so had we been short here, we would have considered that to be a stop. Maybe even this could be considered a new stop. The smaller candles I'm not really too sure about, but when you do get a little bit of a defined color change, you can look at that as kind of a minor support resistance or a minor high and low. But typically after you've gotten some extension, you may want to use those areas as your trailing stop point to get a little bit closer. Like for example, this one candle here could have been an indication for you here, and then you could follow it here, and then once it tapped up, you could have actually ended up, say we taken the candle here, could have gotten about 4 to 5 points out of that. But we'll just go at it. Uh-oh. Gotta find my charger. could be a bit of an issue. Not having my charger. There it is. Going a little bit of a travel last night. Get all this back set up. And starting to have that breakdown again, so I'm gonna think we're going short. Move this down and cover the top where we push down out of the breakout. So we're starting to move to the lower portion. This should become resistance now. Looking at this little zone and area here. Almost looks like we're making a channel and we just happen to be entered at the bottom of levels of the channel. A little bit non-cooperative. If this trade gets stopped out, I'll let it get out of this area before I look for another entry. It is certainly not wanting to cooperate. Not in this little zone.
Stop filled.
So we're going to wait and see just what's happening here. Overall, I'm still kind of expecting that long to go long. And we've just got a little bit of a mix-up in our area. Make this a little smaller and show that as support. Kind of separate that zone a little bit. And we'll get a nice push out one way or the other. You have that little bit of a pin bar. We don't have any real clear signals.
Order
go
filled.
long again. I'll cover that pin bar. See if we can get a little bit of a push out of it this time. So overall, in my experience in the past, this usually indicates the trend's about to turn and go back upwards. Starting to also get a lot more yellow over black. Show that more ticks are moving to the positive side, the long side. The idea is to try to catch one or two good long ones during the session, because then generally that's going to negate any of the losses, even if you do incur quite a few where you get chopped up a little bit. So it's going to be more than sufficient to cover this once we get some things going in the right direction. And now we have the hourly open, and notice how that candle just launched. Now we've got some empty orders.
Stop filled.
So probably a little bit of a low volume, because notice these numbers are very small. That candle is jumping around. Got a
Order
little bit of an
filled.
engulfment. So we'll take that back short. We had a fake long. About half of our maximum daily loss, so still on a good path for management. See if we can get enough violence to send this candle in the right direction well enough for our favor. Starting to get that downward chop. Give it a little bit of room because we still have that low volume count. Bring it down just a smidge, but it doesn't look like we're going to get this one either. A little bit of a chop up day. They just have to step away for a short bit and come back. Prevent going out the whole loss. I'll have a little bit left to work with later in the day. Bit of a hostile area there. See if we can get a hostile takeover in the proper direction. Showing that it wants to be support again. Certainly
Order
not
filled.
going in our favor. Give it a little bit of time to move. I'm actually going to step away for a few minutes, so I will return, keep from blowing my money out. I'll return in just a few moments, about 5 to 10 minutes. Put a timer on so you can see, and I'm going to give this price some time to move. Be right back. Alright, we've got a bit of a fight happening in this little area. So let's go ahead and kind of re-perspectivize ourselves. See exactly what we've got happening here. So right now, currently viewing this as a little bit of a support line. And we've kind of gotten a little bit wider with our little zone here. So I'm kind of just looking at it in this perspective. Got quite a bit of an argument going on in this little area. Clear all this out. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I'm going to go ahead and set this up as a little bit of a level. See if we start to get any kind of strong reactions. That was a strong candle, but we didn't break through anything significant. We've also got a little bit of a resistance line here. Now it looks like we're starting to
Order filled.
So shrink this down a little bit. Reduce that risk. About 1/3 of the way to the maximum loss that I'm going to allow for the account today. Still plenty of time to work with it. Does look like we're going to take the ultimate dive down to the bottom at least. Or not.
Stop filled.
Stopped out once more. Kind of cleared a little bit. If we break this high, I'm going to go long. Kind of a chop day. And one clean move here, one clean move here. Now we've been arguing ever since. Clear this high, it'll be a good indication to go long. It would also reach and breach this high.
Order filled.
Oh, getting a little bit of a breach up. Cover the last low. That clearing candle. So if we're looking at this in terms of volume, notice the small candles that didn't really move much, but 100 ticks or 100 transactions did take place. So that would indicate that we have a pretty good concentration of orders right here, just from the smaller candles in this area versus larger ones here. We're still getting much larger green over the black, so we can kind of read that as having a buying pressure still in the market. So kind of the original idea was probably the right one, we just didn't have the correct reaction level. Kind of initial reaction there from the first spot, then we had a reaction down, and then a reaction up, and then a reaction back down, kind of chopped up this little area here. So now we're on the lower levels of this area, and if it should push back up, we should have a fairly safe trade. And possibly looking for 2000 as the target. 2000, 2001, that next level up. That's where we're going to target. Could see some resistance here around the 1994. But ultimately, I would think we should at least reach that 2000 mark. Should we be long? Stop is below the order concentration. That where I can grab it. Notice we've got a bit of support here, lining up with those smaller little candles in that area we kind of determined to be an order concentration area. And I had a similar event here. Just kind of why I was thinking short for a moment. Is the market going to finally be our friend or go against us yet again? Or to just wait this one out a little bit?
Stop filled.
Let's do just a little bit more waiting. Almost thinking it might be a bit better to just record the sessions and then condense everything down. Would be beneficial for days like this. could be a potential that we may have to wait until we really start to see something moving. Don't believe we have any economic events, but could have a thing or two here. Let me check trading view. I'm already involved. Okay, so we got a couple of things. We've got some job openings, the PMI manufacturing coming up, press conference, and interest rates. We've got a pretty heavy news day. Got the job openings at 10, which is already, I think, passed. Where are we at here? Yeah, so we already had that. So we got interest rate coming and press conference. That's reading off the euro. Let's see what we got in terms of what we're currently working with here. Let's see anything else coming up in relation to where we are directly. Nothing listed. A real heavy wick. We're looking at a 5-minute chart itself. Let's see where we're at in the 1 minute. We are showing that support being there, crossing across with some pre-market levels. Kind of think that's going to go short overall, but we don't have a strong move yet one way or the other. So if we take out this low, it might be a good short. Just a lot of chop today. About 2 trades left in the tank if we don't catch a winner. Really should wait to see if we're going to get some good moves or not. Got a little bit lower than average volume. Usually it's about 8 to 10. Staying in the 2s and 4s today. If we were to just go straight technical analysis, that would be technically a good entry short. Starting to get a bit of structure for it. 30 seconds left on the candle. Can watch the timer down here. Now we're towards the end of the candle. Starting to pick up.
Order filled.
Coming out long. Cover the low, we'll try long once more. Trying to push back into that level. back on the tick chart. Looks a little bit cleaner. Getting some strong buy tick direction. Some would even say this is a Fibonacci retracement lineup. Take the full length, and then we've got about a 50% retracement in this zone here. Also showing back in the upper bounds of the pre-market zone here. Also got a stable move and then a very sluggish downward move, so that could indicate more buyers coming into the market. Certainly see this day finish out being long. We may even pass this target. Come up to this yesterday's high kind of zone, yesterday's zone. So that might be something to expect out of this trade. And looks like the job openings was a little bit higher than the forecast, or actually lower than the forecast. About a point and a half. PMI is also down by 0.8 of a point. news trader following along with that. And not looking good for the home team again. Yeah, I can take care of that in a minute. Just kind of mark that little zone out there. Still kind of arguing in this little zone here. Looks like the S&P has been quite a bit choppy as well. So not too much action going on with that one. Either way, actually the S&P, the ES mini, been extremely choppy. It hasn't really moved much at all today. Russell's moved just a little bit more. A little bit cleaner. Looking at the ES, there's a lot of wicks. See, the original version with targets had quite a few different situations where it could have worked. It's kind of difficult to know exactly which one to pick. I tend to like the trailing stops more because a lot of times you need just a little bit more than what a set target can typically give. So if you've gone quite an extended time without making a win, so for example right now in this situation we would need several wins in a row to recover from this little bit, but if we get a very nice move, we can actually get most, if not all, of this back in one simple trade. So that's kind of why I'm more partial to the trailing stop idea. Although it is a bit more difficult to use and it's kind of hard to actually predict ahead. I mean, there's really no set system or method that's going to give you a high degree of accuracy of prediction. You can just try to read the market currently and what it's doing and then try to get involved in the right direction. And so far today, I've not been doing a very good job at that. But all in all, it's not the end of the world. We've got several days to trade with, so not going to be trading large amounts of contracts. We're not going to be going up to the full size futures. Kind of started the last account that way and it took me down very quickly. So $2,000 is not exactly a lot to work with when you're looking at full size futures or trading even a large quantity of the minis. Still just chopping up. Not really leaving out of this little pattern area here. It's still curving. I'm just doing it extremely slowly.
Stop filled.
Yeah. So got about roughly one trade left. Got about $33 left before we hit the loss. So I'm thinking I might just wrap this up. As far as the live, I am going to watch and just observe, but it doesn't look like we're going to get too much going on today. I know we've got some news coming up again tomorrow for the euro. Actually, really at the close of the day. So we're going to have that at the market close, 2:30. I think I'm in the right time frame on there. Just make sure it's in the right time zone on TradingView. Yeah, so that's New York. So we got bit of an interest rate decision, PMI coming up, so that's going to be at close of day. That could explain why we're having a low volume and a lot of chop, so it's probably just not a good trading day overall. Take a look at that. ES Mini is kind of giving the same pattern, a lot of chop, but it really has not had a whole lot of movement at all. A couple of good moves there for a minute, but actually need to do something like this because we have a higher volume. So we are getting kind of that same approach, but same kind of deal here. We do have a bit of an uptrend kind of forming, but it's just basically doing a lot of chop as well. What is this? The Dow Mini. Dow Mini is also kind of in the same situation, not really doing a whole heap of a load of lots. This one's kind of going downwards. A little bit of a downward open and starting to show a downward trend. Or if nothing else, just a ranged consolidation. It would be considered at a discount right now in the range. Not really a very active day today. So, see what the Nasdaq's up to. Pretty quiet day in the market overall. There we go. So, Nasdaq kind of moving a little bit, but not really. Let's see where we have the open of the day. So we are kind of trending up on the Nasdaq though. These point values are quite a bit higher. Looks like we've got a break of that trend starting to roll downwards a little bit. Most markets look to be pretty noisy today. And we're still not really going anywhere from where we were. Still kind of following that downward channel. Nothing's really changing. So now we're just starting to make a downward chop. That's probably going to be what's happening. And it's more than likely going to do that all the way down. So probably not really a great, exciting day. Just going to go ahead and wrap it out there. Take that little small 250 hit. We can get that back pretty easily though. No big deal. 267 down. So just a small negative for a noisy day. Come back at it tomorrow. Would say that's a level there, so we could potentially be looking short to take it back down here. Hard to say overall. I'm kind of thinking something like this though for the rest of the day, and then we'll chop, get some news, and then where we go from there, who knows? We'll find out tomorrow. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up for the day and just leave this where it lies, and I will kind of consider moving forward if I want to do lives or if I just want to record everything and speed it up. That way I can kind of focus more on what I've got involved instead of trying to explain everything as I'm going. This way I can be a little bit more open-minded to what I'm actually going through in the chart. Then as I'm going back over, I can do like a daily review. And then I can go ahead and kind of explain it there, but I can also speed up the video footage to where we can kind of look at a whole market day in about 30 to 45 minutes. So this way I feel like it might be a little bit better way to explain everything instead of trying to actually trying to demonstrate and explain at the same time while also trying to focus on my current task at hand. It just seems like I've got a lot going on while I'm trying to do this. So let me give that approach a try and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I can see some sort of improvement in my own performance. But I know when I'm live trading right now, currently, it does seem like I have a little bit more going on than what I need to be worried about. I need to be just worried about directly what's on the chart, what's happening, and see what's happening here. That way I don't get caught up getting chopped up in all these little noisy effects here. There's something, see, I should have at this point noticed by about this area that, alright, we're probably not going to be making any more type of major moves. We're probably going to continue this sort of pattern all the way through at this angle. And notice that's kind of what's playing out. We've got a little bit of a break above if we're looking at a common sense line, and I'm going to get rid of these moving averages as well. Not really vibing with those. Kind of done looking at that. I'll put bar timer back on, but I'm going to make it not visible just in case. But I am liking this tick chart a lot more than I'm liking the bar chart, candle chart in the form of minutes and hours, because this kind of gives me a much better indication of what's going on with the volume without actually having to have a volume indicator on there. Take a quick look at that though, just to see how close we're estimating things. But I can tell you most volume is probably going to be fairly low. Yeah, fairly low. We haven't even really broken above pre-market volume levels. I'd probably have to put this on bar to see it correctly. But notice how stable that, yeah, so I would have to actually put this on bar chart. So that actually does kind of show, yeah, exactly what's happening there. So everything's being very stable, so that means each tick is going to be about the same amount of volume. So when you start seeing a lot of these ticks form and these candles, basically the faster these candles are forming, the more volume is actually going into the market at that current point in time. So let's flip this over to the 1 minute, kind of look at what's happening overall. That in auto size. So yeah, and we've had kind of a decreased volume pretty much for the majority of the day. We haven't even really broken above 200 lots per minute. Let's look at the 5 minute chart as well. So we really don't have a lot going on there. $500 tick. Does look like we're starting to get that a little bit of an upward pull. Let's give the buyer one more shot. $100 ticks might have been a little bit too fine of a grain for what we were trading with too, so I may have to take a look at that. Final trade of the session. And set it to a rough max loss. Still overall looking for 2000, 2001. With the all time at 2010, so 10 more points above. And we don't need the volume anymore because we're taking care of that with our candles. So we'll just get back to a normal chart. See what we're working with. It still kind of shows the same picture at 100. 100 gives you a little bit finer entry when the chart is willing to cooperate a little bit more. Just a messy day today. Still just putt-putting along. And I'm just going to leave this one on for a minute. I'm kind of ultimately looking for 2010, but I'm thinking 2000 is going to be the mark. Just because we have a real common zone here around that little area. So I'm thinking that's probably going to be the ultimate mark. We do look at retracements though. Even if you're using an AB equals CD type pattern, should that be the bottom? Yeah, so you're coming out, AB equals CD kind of lines up there a little bit beyond it. We could go on a little bit further. That level at 2010 is going to line up at about the 160 mark on the Fibonacci. And I will add the indicator and draw it just to see how accurate my eyeballs are. There it is. Looking at the wrong one. What are you doing? Okay, so we've got first off, let's set the tool up in the correct orientation. That would probably help us out. So we've got 61 retracement. Or let me invert this. Alright, I will turn it back around then. So we know that's out of 68. Yeah, so our 168 level, 160 level is lining up right there on that 2010. So if you're Fibonacci trading, that would look to be a good Fibonacci retracement setup overall. So I'm thinking we might be in the right direction finally. A good move out. So let's see here. And I will probably just set this and walk away, because that might take a minute to get there. Sell limit.
Order submitted.
So that should set the target in place. And see how much of that we reach. And I'm going to wrap the stream up here, but I am going to continue to record, and I will try the idea where I just kind of focus and trade and record, and then when I go back through and replay, I can replay it at a faster speed and kind of review and walk through everything that I'm thinking of doing. This way I can kind of focus on more of the trading aspect and less of the demonstration part of it, and then maybe that can be a little bit more effective in showing what I'm trying to convey, and then it can also be more beneficial for me to pay attention a little bit better to what's going on, not having a split focus. So I will wrap things up, and I will begin to look at considering videos and just uploading videos of each day in a faster speed. So this way they take less time. It's probably not practical to try and trade this in a live perspective so much as it is for some of the other methods where you're looking to kind of wait for an entry, be very specific about setups and so on. This is not so much setup oriented, it's more of a momentum orientation. Some might suggest using like an ADX or something like that, but I've just never really been fond of indicators, so I'm kind of more partial to looking at reading the candles and using the ticks to kind of judge what's happening. So, but I will catch you on the next video. Just be sure to subscribe to catch these videos, and I'll try to upload these pretty consistently through the day. I'll record through the day and probably upload during the evening once I can kind of edit everything together and kind of condense it down so it's not so much time just waiting for price to move. We do enough of that with our own trading. So just be sure to follow along and check back in. I'll be posting most regularly here. If you're here from the other channel, no worries. I still do have a few more videos in the pipeline, so I haven't walked away or forgotten about that channel yet. I'm just a little bit more focused in this area right now, but I will work on getting some of those videos up soon. So just stay tuned. Be patient with me. I'm only one person, and I still have to do people things. So just give me a little bit of time, and we'll eventually get some more things going here in the right direction. But I will see you guys in the next one.